You know, I've been broadcasting Mountaineer sports for almost 50 years. During that period of time, I've experienced so many thrills, so many exciting plays. I can't recall all of them, but one thing that I have lodged in my mind, the 1994 season, possibly the greatest comeback of any Mountaineer team in history. I just happened to bring this book along, telling the story. It was the worst of times, and it was the best of times. It was a season of darkness, and then it was a season of light. The 1994 West Virginia football season will be remembered as one of the biggest comebacks in Mountaineer history. A group of young men rallied together at mid-season to turn doubters into the strongest of believers. Once having nothing before them, they engineered a turnaround that brought the best of everything. This team never gave up when many thought it would. By fighting on and winning the hearts of their strong following, the Mountaineers turned a September of despair into an autumn of hope. So sit back and enjoy our story. As you will find, it is a tale of two seasons. The 1994 West Virginia University football highlights are presented by United National Bank. Our story begins in August with a trip to the 12th Kickoff Classic and a matchup with third-ranked Nebraska. The hoopla surrounding this event resembled a bowl atmosphere. Events leading up to the game entertained players and fans, providing a fun beginning to the season. The 23rd-ranked Mountaineers saw this game as a chance to make an instant climb in the national rankings. But after losing 28 players from an undefeated squad in '93, and with two sophomore quarterbacks leading the offense, the learning process was slow. Injuries to key performers Mike Logan and David Mayfield in the secondary brought trouble on this day and in the weeks to come. Nebraska would win, but the Mountaineers had one bright spot. Before an ABC national television audience, the nation's best punter took center stage. Starting his journey to earn consensus All-American honors, Todd Sauerbrunn let the entire country know that he would win all national punting awards for the season. His 90-yard punt will never be forgotten, nor will his 9 punts for a 60-yard average. The college football world looked on in amazement.
I go into every game thinking that I'm going to have a big day, and I enforce that on every punt I hit. And, you know, fortunately, the weather was great for me. There really wasn't any wind at all, and everything went well for me, but unfortunately it didn't go as well as for the team.
It was clear after the Kickoff Classic that this team still needed to mature. A veteran defense would have to hang tough until the offense gelled. Inexperience at quarterback and in the offensive line would hurt the Mountaineers in the early going. Improvement would come with the passage of time and several defeats. September ended with just one win over Ball State and losses to Rutgers, Maryland, and Virginia Tech. Despite the 1-4 record, Coach Don Nehlen saw some positive play. Quarterback Eric Boykin accounted for 313 yards of total offense against Ball State. The performance was 8th among WVU's all-time offensive performances. Receiver Rashawn Vanderpool proved to be a dependable target. On his way to leading the Mountaineers in receiving and all-purpose yards, Vanderpool earned second-team All-Big East honors and etched his name in several WVU record categories. In his first attempt as a Mountaineer, true freshman Brian Bauman kicked a 33-yard field goal. It just happened to be a last-second game winner. Bauman would go on to solidify the position and earn second-team conference honors. At Rutgers, Lovett Purnell showed that the Mountaineers had an offensive threat at tight end. His 7 catches were the most by a WVU tight end since 1981. The Mountaineer offensive line showed signs of improvement against Maryland when Robert Walker broke loose for 123 yards. A force on the WVU defense was emerging. Linebacker J.T. Thomas recorded 15 stops against Maryland. On the season, Thomas registered a team-leading 112 tackles. He wasn't fancy, but he was tough. Against Virginia Tech, Aaron Beasley took over the nation's lead in interceptions with 3 in the game. The performance propelled the cornerback to first-team All-Big East honors. He set a WVU single-season mark with 10 picks, best in the country. Receiver Zach Abraham pulled in 3 catches for 55 yards against Tech. As fans would find out in the weeks to come, if the ball was near him, Abraham was going to catch it. Quarterback Chad Johnston impressed the coaches with his toughness under pressure at Tech. His numbers weren't great, but his poise earned him the starting nod at Missouri. Through 5 games, the nucleus was there despite the 1-4 record. Could this team stay together and fight through adversity?
I have to give a lot of credit to our senior class, because I think any time that you're a football team that's won 1 game and lost 4, it would be very easy for a team to quit. But we had leadership at the key positions. The coaches continued to lead, but the seniors led that team, and I think they're the reason we were able to climb right out of that daggone tunnel.
Our next chapter opens on October 1st and a trip west to meet the Missouri Tigers. The game was crucial for WVU. The team was tired of losing. That day, the second season began. The Mountaineers were all business and never let Missouri get in the game. Regaining the starting quarterback job, Chad Johnston was determined to make the most of it. He passed for 291 yards and 2 touchdowns while accounting for 1 score on the ground. When West Virginia runs effectively, it wins, and the Mountaineer ground game was starting to come alive. A total of 14 Mountaineers contributed to the 543 yards of total offense. The Mountaineer defense dominated. David Mayfield was back from injury. The Tigers could only muster a touchdown in the final seconds. It's amazing what a win can do for a team. The Mountaineers badly needed this one.
I think it was good for us to get away from home. I mean, the fans were getting on us. People were pointing fingers, and the morale of the team was struggling, you know, and I don't think we could have taken much more of it. But we went out there, and we got up for that game. We stayed focused, and we got a real big win, and that set the tone for the rest of the season.
A much-needed open week provided time to heal wounds before the 87th backyard brawl with Pitt. At 2-4, Nealon knew that a win over the Panthers would keep momentum in his team's favor. What he didn't know was that his team was to play in one of college football's great games of '94. The Mountaineers started fast behind the 41-yard Bauman field goal. and an outstanding special teams play.
Got blocked. Got a good bounce, too.
Oh, boy.
This is a big play for West Virginia. This is going to be a touchdown.
No flag.
Mountaineers have scored. Harold Kidd, number 22. It's 9-0 West Virginia.
The ball took a funny roll, it took a funny bounce, and it bounced while I was running, and I looked at the ball, and it bounced right back in my hands, and I took off for a 60-yard touchdown.
On his way to 396 yards passing, second best ever at WVU, Chad Johnston connected with Zach Abraham and Rashawn Vanderpool for 2 big first-half scores.
They got a man wide open. Vanderpool is there. Touchdown, West Virginia.
The fans did not know that this was only a bit of foreshadowing. When Aaron Beasley returned an interception 50 yards for a 31-6 Mountaineer lead, no one had a clue of what was in store. A late pit rally in the second quarter even seemed insignificant. When Matt Tafoni turned away a Panther 2-point conversion try. 100 yards later, Tafoni scored the first defensive 2-point conversion in West Virginia history. WVU led at the half 33-19. However, the Panthers, using 5 wide receivers, staged a furious second-half comeback and tied the score at 33 early in the fourth.
What? Can he pick it up and go? Let's see. He got the bounce. What a bounce. That's Tom Bart.
Can he get the block?
He's going to go.
No flag.
Touchdown, Pittsburgh. We're tied at 33.
Man, oh man, oh man. We need a wake-up call of these guys. Kerimany, that's sick.
Defense took over for most of the final stanza before the wake-up call arrived with 1:32 left.
They made a lot of changes at halftime, you know. They came out and started playing a lot of man-to-man, and they caught us off guard at the beginning of the half. But I knew if, you know, we just kept doing the things we were doing, that we would eventually pull it off. My route was to come across the middle and like get it inside of him, but when I started off, you know, he was playing inside of me, so he wouldn't let me inside, so I faked like I was gonna go inside and just slip right behind him.
Vanderpool is there. He can go. Let's see. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, West Virginia. He broke one. Salvation for Rashawn Vanderpool. 81 yards, and West Virginia takes the lead.
That 81-yard score was the 7th longest in school history. It gave West Virginia a 40-33 lead. Then the Mountaineers' worst nightmare came true. Behind the passing of John Ryan, Pitt marched down the field to score and led 41-40 when Ryan converted the 2-point attempt. It was gut check time. A big lead had evaporated and a loss would have been devastating. But on this day, Mountaineer fans learned that their team had heart. 38 seconds remained. After a Johnston scramble, the sophomore threw a pass that kept the second season alive.
24 seconds to go. Johnston. They run a game. Tyler Young forces him. He's got a man down the sideline. Oh, he's got it! He's got it! Touchdown, West Virginia! Zach Abraham and the Mountaineers are back on top with 15 seconds to go.
We were just going to run the same play over and over again, which is basically just all the receivers running streaks down the field. And Chad was going to eye up who he saw was open and just try to get as much yardage as we could to get close enough for a field goal to try to win it.
It was kind of simple play, really. We ran 4 verticals straight down the field. All 4 wideouts just ran streaks. And you know, the play before, we ran the same play, and I stepped up in the pocket, and I think the DB saw me run out, and I ran for about 10 or 12 yards, I think.
Chad started to scramble there, and the DB started to hesitate a little bit and sort of stopped in his tracks. I just kept running, and when he hesitated, I just looked back and saw Chad throwing the ball. And
Zach ran a great route, just kept going, just hustled, and I threw it on the run to him.
There's Abraham to pull it in. Abraham is at 10, a touchdown. Holy moly! A West Virginia touchdown. When the dust cleared, the two teams combined for 983 yards of total offense. Vanderpool had amassed a record 205 yards receiving, and every kid in the state wanted to be Zach Abraham.
With about 20 seconds to go, we're behind in the game. Lo and behold, with 10 seconds to go, we're back ahead. And I think that play from Chad to Zach was the biggest play of our season. And from then on, we became a real good football team because our kids then really believed we could get it done.
The only blemish in the second season was to 6th-ranked Miami. The Hurricanes avenged last year's defeat to the Mountaineers, who did manage a score in the final period. 4 games were left for the 3-5 Mountaineers. To a man, they all knew that they would have to run the table to reach a bowl. Taking that first step meant beating Louisiana Tech. West Virginia amassed 549 yards of total offense in the homecoming game. 7 Mountaineers scored in the rout, led by Van Washington's record-setting 2 interception returns for touchdowns.
It's intercepted, Van Washington. Can he? Yes, he will. All the way for 6. Martin intercepted again by Van Washington. Will there be 2? Yes, there will be. The second interception return for Van Washington in the second quarter. This one for 64 yards.
You have 60,000 people rooting for you, and you're making a big play, and everybody in the stands is cheering, and you know that everybody is cheering for you and you only. And it makes you want to go out and do even more so you can get that feeling again. And I guess you could say that all of the good players, they kind of become addicted to that feeling, and they want to go out and want to make big plays, and they thrive on making big plays.
It was a convincing win and a huge confidence booster. Mission number 1 complete. The final road game of the year at Temple was next.
Into the end zone for McCulty. And McCulty makes the touchdown grab.
With the 55-17 win, the Mountaineers totaled 107 points and had a 2-game winning streak.
Picked off by Aaron Beasley. The nation's leader in interceptions has his 10th of the season and a touchdown.
Fullback Cantroy Barber burst through the Owl defense for 3 scores. Zach Abraham pulled in 3 catches for 122 yards and 2 scores. Jimmy Gary led all rushers. Chad Johnston totaled 276 yards of total offense, and the Mountaineers reached the 500 mark. Suddenly, the plot thickened. 2 games down, 2 left for a winning season. Coach Nealon told his team that it was going to get it done. No excuses.
Well, after that Temple game, it finally put us up to 5-5. We had some momentum going for us. I felt then very strongly that we could beat Boston College and Syracuse. I also felt that it would take 110% effort by every guy on our football team to get it done.
Anticipation filled Mountaineer Field for the Big East clash with Boston College. The Eagles had one of the nation's best defenses and a high-caliber offense. On this day, BC ran into a determined group of Mountaineers. Chad Johnston threw touchdown passes to Zach Abraham and Rashawn Vanderpool, but WVU still trailed 20-14 in the 4th. 9 minutes remain in a must-win game for West Virginia. Any hopes BC had that the Mountaineers would quit soon faded. The 10th play of a 61-yard drive proved just how much this young team had grown up.
Johnson looking for Abraham. He's there. Touchdown.
The swarming West Virginia defense held BC to just 5 rushing yards. Stephen Perkins had a career-high 15 tackles, and Canute Curtis continued to prove that he was a star of the future. Still, BC had enough time for a final drive. The Mountaineers had to take a stand.
4th down and inches. West Virginia tight to the line, looking for the run. Handoff, Walker to Fody inside, makes the stop.
When the tight end came out and he got down in the stance, you know, I was looking at the stance and his feet were angled in towards me and he was leaning in towards me, so that told me, you know, he was going to block down on me. As soon as the ball snapped, I just jumped in the gap and he didn't touch me and I just ran in there and hit the ball carrier. You know, that's when the guy's supposed to show up, and you know, I did it that game, and some other guys did it, you know, the rest of the other games of the season. It just happened to be me in this, you know, this game.
The Mountaineers had risen to the challenge. One mission left: beat Syracuse.
Syracuse, you next, baby!
Before a Thanksgiving ESPN national audience, WVU went for 4 wins in a row and 6 of the last 7. A New Year's Bowl invitation was on the line. West Virginia's defense was again fantastic. Holding Syracuse to just 51 yards rushing, the Mountaineers had the Orangemen running for their lives all night long. For the second straight year, the Orange could not score a point on the Mountaineers. Mountaineer offense wasn't flashy. In a workmanlike fashion, Jimmy Gary turned in his first career 100-yard game to pave the way for a 13-0 win. To the joy of an entire state, the Mountaineers had completed the best turnaround in school history. It was a long, hard fight, but this team clawed its way to a 7-5 record, and the emotions poured.
You guys are special, and I don't think I've ever had a team that's ever done what you guys have done. We were down and out. At least that's what everybody thought except us. And by hanging together, bud, together, we worked our butts off and got it done.
West Virginia was one of the hottest teams in the nation during its final 7 games. Finishing 3rd in the Big East, the Mountaineers were rewarded with a bid to the Carquest Bowl.
We're looking forward to the opportunity to show you a little bit of fun in South Florida. We're wishing you all a white Christmas here in terms of snow, and then you can come to South Florida and see our version of white Christmas, which is sand on the beach. We're looking forward to all of you being down there. Thank you.
Our story's final chapter takes us to sunny Fort Lauderdale. A second straight bowl bid was a huge reward for this young team. The Florida weather provided plenty of time for fun in the sun. Bowl functions and outings entertained the players who mixed pleasure with the business at hand, preparing for the South Carolina Gamecocks. A A week of solid practice blended with the excitement of playing in Joe Robbie Stadium, site of Super Bowl 29, had the Mountaineers pumped for the January 2nd bowl game.
As a coach, I get nervous because we haven't had a whole lot of time to practice, but hopefully by Monday we'll be sharp.
These two teams renewed an old rivalry as the nation looked on. Gamecock quarterback Steve Tannehill led his team to an early 10-0 advantage. But the Mountaineers had been through too much together to let this game get out of hand. Rallying behind the passing of Chad Johnston and the running of a healthy Robert Walker, the Mountaineers turned the contest into one of the day's best bowl games. Walker's season-high 132 yards rushing and 1 touchdown provided the early spark. Johnston's 2 TDs to Lovett Purnell pulled WVU to within 3 at 24-21 with a quarter left to play. However, key drives in the 4th period produced no points. Even though the Mountaineers had one last chance in the final minute, the 3-point defeat brought a frustrating end to a long season. The disappointment of the Carquest Bowl is overshadowed by all the positives 1994 brought. The best turnaround in school history was orchestrated by a group of men who bettered themselves by learning how to stay together and refusing to quit. On defense, performers like Tafoni, Hawkins, Thomas, Curtis, and Beasley took charge. Young talent like Van Washington and Charles Emmanuel matured and will be a force for the future. On offense, Captain Tom Robsock led by example, and so did Zach Abraham, Rashawn Vanderpool, and Chad Johnston. Disappointment, frustration. After 1 month, most had left the Mountaineers for dead. But Don Nealon and his staff stuck with this team after a 1-4 start. These Mountaineers continued forward, resuscitated by big plays throughout the year that brought them to life and pulled them together. Yes, there were bad and good times through 13 games. But by learning from the bad, the Mountaineers completed a great comeback and were rewarded with the knowledge of what unity and perseverance can bring. In this tale of 2 seasons, the '94 Mountaineers cried together, then laughed together. History will remember the '94 Mountaineers for their ability to pull off the unexpected. History will treat this group just fine. The 1994 West Virginia University football highlights have been presented by United National Bank. This has been a presentation of MSN, the Mountaineer Sports Network.